Hello, hello! My name is Callista and welcome back to Pentiment. In the last episode, we reached Smokey's hut. Vacslav is back with him. So we'll have a chat with this guy before we see what gossip Smokey has. Hello, is there something I can do for you? Knives need sharpening. I'm Magdalene Druckerin. Are you a friend of Smokey's? I'm not sure. Is there? I'm Magdalene Druckerin. I live in town. Yeah, Vacslav wasn't in Act 2. He was in Act 1. I remember him in Act 1. He's Romani, I think. I'm pretty sure he was Romani. It's been a while. It's been a very long time since Act 1. But yeah, I guess he's only come back recently. Okay. This seems a little... I'm not sure. Is there... this guy hasn't been rude to us. I'm Magdalene Druckerin. Are you a friend of Smokey's? I'd like to think so. I'm Vacslav. I'm a tinker. Travel around and help people out with sharpening knives, little things like that. Druckerin, are you a printer's daughter? I am. My father is a printer. I'm the printer. My father and I are we're both printers. He's still alive. We're not going to say that he isn't when he's alive and kicking. My father and I are both printers. Do you sample the wares much? Yes, I read books as often as I can. Not as much as you might think. Yes, I read books. Vacslav, don't. You're going to get in trouble again. Oh. Trouble? From me? What's he talking about? What's he talking about? Nothing. Ignore him. Nothing? This one can't help but talk to people about all of the strange things he believes. He reads all sorts of books, talks to odd folks, gets ideas brewing in his head. Now that doesn't bother old Smokey none. Bothers some other people a whole lot. Who? It doesn't bother me any. It sounds like their problem, not his. It doesn't bother me any. Well, if it doesn't bother you and it doesn't bother old Smokey, sounds like there's nothing to worry about. Fine, you get run out of here again. Don't blame me. Again? Do I want to know what happened? So, books, strange idea. What happened? Again? Do I want to know what happened? A long time ago, I got into an argument with some people in town, they told Father Thomas. To his credit, he told them to let it go, but somehow an inquisitor found out. Oh, Jesus. Again, I find this suspicious. It could have been... I'm naturally inclined to think the worst about Thomas because he is my #1 suspect for the thread puller. But, to be fair, it could have been... Then again, this was Act 1. It was in Act 2 that Thomas taught everyone how to read and write. 1 second, I'm about to have a coughing fit. Pardon me? I've got drinks. I'm fine. Now is not the time. Throat, now is not the time. I've got a scratch on the back of my throat. I've just eaten my dinner, so I reckon something may have just scratched up my throat as I swallowed it. That, now is not the time. Now is not the time to go, throat, please. Okay, where was I? I'm back. Yeah, I'm inclined to think the worst of Father Thomas because he's my #1 suspect for the identity of the thread puller. But to be fair, one of the townsfolk could have grassed him up. It would have to be from a very limited selection, because it was in Act 2 that Father Thomas taught everyone how to read and write. Like the peasantry and stuff. I'm pretty sure that's what happened. Andreas came back and he was like, oh shit, you can read? And people were like, oh yeah, Father Thomas taught us. Still, I find it, like, I find this suspicious. Oh, to his credit, he told them to let it go, but somehow an inquisitor found out. Somehow. I find this suspicious, but I to be fair, I don't have any proof. I don't have any proof that Thomas did this. Just because I find him suspicious, I shouldn't be accusing him of everything. I'll drop it. I'll drop it. For now. To his credit, he told them to let it go, but somehow an inquisitor found out. Anyway, I had to leave for a while. So, books? Strange ideas? Yes, the host, the Eucharist. The bread and wine, body and blood of Christ. Holy Communion, what about it? More and more people are writing about rejecting transubstantiation. If I had to guess, so, in Catholicism, how the fuck do I explain this without sounding mental? In Catholicism, the general belief is that the Jesus biscuit and the wine, when it enters your body, and, when it enters your mouth, it literally becomes the body and blood of Christ. Compared to, I want to say, the Church of England, where they believe, no, this is like, it's a metaphor. It's a metaphor. It does not literally become flesh and blood. This is, like, oh, it's just representative. It's just representative. However, in Catholicism, it's like, no, this is Jesus' body and this is Jesus' blood. Like, I would assume this is, more and more people are writing about rejecting the idea that it literally becomes his flesh and blood. That would be my best guess. More and more people are writing about rejecting transubstantiation. Yes! Yes, I know my religion! Thank you, Catholic upbringing. You have some uses at long last. The idea that the bread and wine of the Eucharist literally becomes the body and blood of Christ. Here we go. Yes. Well, there are two ways to look at it. The first is on the grounds that Wycliffe and... Oh, I was like, huh? Like, what is this misspelling? No, Huss, okay. The first is on the grounds that Wycliffe and Huss rejected it. Using our eyes, our senses, there is nothing perceptible that changes in the character of the bread and wine. That doesn't mean it hasn't actually changed, though. Must our senses necessarily encompass all of God's miracles for them to be real? I suppose that... I'm sorry, I've mentioned this before. I was raised Roman Catholic. I identify as an atheist. I don't think I ever believed in God. The word that has haunted me my entire life, willful, stubborn and willful. Literally, I had my kindergarten headmistress. She told my parents that I was going to be illiterate. She brought them in and outright told them, like, your daughter is never going to learn to read or write. She is stubborn and willful and she is too stupid to learn. You need to get used to the idea that your daughter is illiterate and she will always be illiterate. Now, I hope that I have proved that I am not illiterate. I'm not illiterate. I'm not stubborn. I'm not willful. I have a learning disorder and I'm on the autism spectrum. And I don't necessarily learn the way that other kids learned. And she had no time for this. It was a private kindergarten. Just in case you're thinking, oh, well, she must have had a lot of kids. No, it was a private kindergarten. She had a very small number of children to teach. She just simply wasn't interested. She wasn't interested in anyone who didn't learn the stereotypical way, and thus I got labelled stubborn and willful. Now, in a way, I am stubborn. Not in a way, I am. I am stubborn, I am willful. In that regard, I wasn't. I simply wasn't learning the way that she expected me to learn. However, I don't like being told what to think. I don't like being told what to do. And being taken to a church every Sunday and being told, you will believe in God because I tell you to, little baby Callista. Little baby me went, no. Screw this. Absolutely not. I don't like being told what to do. So, if you want to believe that the Jesus biscuit literally becomes Jesus's body, like, fair play to you. I think it's daft. I have eaten a lot of meat over the course of my lifetime. That wafer, when it enters your mouth, it does not become meat. I've never tried human flesh. I doubt it is like that, though. I doubt it has that consistency. Like, I'm drawn to this. Like I said, I don't picture Magdalene as being all that religious. Andreas, I think he believed in his own way. He did believe in God, but he didn't like being told this is how you must worship him. With Magda, I think she's very much like, hey, my dad wants me to use this language, therefore I will use it. But, like, I don't necessarily think that she's... Like, these don't fit for me. These don't fit. I suppose that's true. Good, but there is also a second point. Even if the bread and wine turn to Christ's body and blood, why is that necessary for spiritual communion? We are bound by flesh, attempting to reunite with the light of God through the Eucharist. The act, the observance, unites our will with that of Christ. God? He is present in us through the remembrance, not the physical act. Are you following this, Smokey? Isn't that heresy? So what does that matter? Are you saying we shouldn't take communion? I don't think he's saying we shouldn't take communion. I think he's saying the idea that you eat a wafer, or in this case bread, and that bread turns to meat, when it very clearly doesn't, is a little bit silly. It's a wee bit daft. Again, if that's what you want to believe in, if that sounds very passive aggressive. I do apologise. If you genuinely believe that, if you genuinely believe that this wafer, this bread, becomes Jesus's body, it becomes his flesh in my mouth, but I've tried it. I've done it. It doesn't, though. It doesn't. Like, maybe on a spiritual sense it does. And obviously I am not spiritually connected to this. I have no evidence of this. And you are, so, like, therefore you feel it. You feel it in your heart, in your soul. But as someone on the outside looking in, I'm like, yeah, no, it doesn't literally happen. It doesn't literally happen. And trying to claim that it literally does is foolishness. I mean, I'm following this. I assume Magda is probably a lot smarter than I am. If I can follow it, she can. That is the thing. This is sounding very heretical. This is sounding very heretical for this time period. Isn't that heresy? Perhaps, but by the church's own teachings, even if the celebrant held this heretical belief, The transubstantiated state of the host does not depend on it, only on the rite itself. I'm not listening to any of this. I'm not being burned at the stake. I'm not being murdered for heresy. Fuck this noise. To be fair, I'm with him. I'm with Smokey. You believe what you want. You believe what you want. You believe what you want. I'm not being burned by the Inquisition. I'm not being mucked by the Inquisition. Fuck that. Are you ready to hear why it's important to disbelieve in transubstantiation? Sure, why not? Yes, I'm certain this is leading somewhere good. No, I'm sorry, but I've heard enough. Sure, why not? I'll admit, I hoped for some more enthusiasm regarding the fate of our souls, but alright. I was like, yeah, that's an F. This all starts with Lucifer creating the world. Excuse me? Jesus Christ. Say no, I'm good to listen. God was the Word, and the Word was truth, and the truth is light. The light is God's will. God's light? Yeah. God's light contained aspects, what we consider angels, facets of his infinite intellect. One of these aspects separated itself from his intellect and manifested in the darkness as the corrupt will, Lucifer. The darkness? Say nothing. Well, I assume at this point the world hasn't been created, so I'll keep listening. Within that darkness, Lucifer cast his false light, a corrupted imitation of the divine intellect, to create the world. All material in our world is inherently a corrupted manifestation of that false light. We still have a connection to God through our intellect, but it is flawed by existing in our physical bodies. So Genesis is wrong. Was Jesus flawed by being a man even though he was born of a virgin? But you still believe we can be redeemed through Christ, right? All right, no, I've definitely heard enough. So Genesis is wrong. There are many stories of creation, many versions, even a Genesis. Why is it you believe yours is the correct one? I don't think she was saying that. You believe the one your church has given you. Magda's going to church because her dad wants her to. Maybe if you were given another, you would have believed that instead. Yeah, well, I'll questions. Was Jesus flawed by being a man even though he was born of a virgin? He was not born of a virgin. I'm not hearing any of this. And it would not matter if he were. Lucifer was a rebellious splinter of God's will. The Christ appeared when God willed his divine intellect into Jesus. But you said that physical bodies were all corrupt. Yes, but while we are the heirs of Lucifer's rebellious intellect, Christ received wisdom from the light of God himself. He did truly die and was truly resurrected in body. But his reappearance was only important for him to convey the message of salvation to the people. In truth, resurrection is always happening, since if we die without grace, our souls are condemned to be reborn. This physical world is the only hell we know, living again and again the only torment. I think that's a sad way to look at life, so how do we escape it? That's an interesting, yeah. I think that's a sad way to look at life. Maybe, but it's how I see it. In 5 years, I may see it another way. Anyway, thank you for indulging me, Magdalene. It was illuminating, of course. I was just being polite. It was an interesting conversation. It was illuminating. Until later. Until then. Again, you're fine talking to us about this. We're not going to tell anyone. We're just going to be like, we met a strange man in the woods and it was cool. Like, we're not going to tell anyone. Please be careful. Please be careful, Vacslav, because he's not hurting anyone, let's be honest. He's not hurting anyone. He's not saying, you must believe. You must believe in this. If you don't believe in this, I'm going to hunt you down and I'm going to stab you in your bed. Like, he's not being aggressive with it. He's just saying, this is what I believe. Like, there's no harm in that. At least I don't think there is. Like, you can believe what you want. He's not trying to force his beliefs on anyone else. Like, you do you, Vacslav, but the Inquisition is here, and other people are going to be less easygoing about it than Magda. Good day, Mistress Druckerin. I've told you, Smokey. Call me Magdalene. Old habits, I suppose. What brings you to my corner of the woods? More gossip? Yes, actually, but first I wanted to ask you about the old salt mines. On the ancient gossip, I was wondering if you knew anything about the old pagan and Roman mines. As much as I'm curious, no, I'm looking for a way to get into the old salt mines. Oh, I want gossip. I want gossip. Yes, actually, but first I wanted to ask you about the old salt mines. The mines? Is this a new interest of yours, Magdalene? I don't see the townsfolk trek out there as much anymore. Last I saw were those two twins making trouble. They know a way in, but I'll be damned if I ever set foot close to that place. What are you so interested in over there? The mural in the rat house needs a section about the earliest days of Tassing. The mines are the oldest part of Tassing, and you keep a keen ear. I thought you might have heard something. I don't know about getting down into the mines, but I do know a fair few stories about them, and the other Roman ruins around here. Yeah, I thought that was going to be the old stories my father used to tell me when he was the burner of Tassing. The one about Mars and Tassia? Yeah, I think that's a T. The one about Mars and Tassia, the nymph, was always my favourite. Though I blame that on my youth. Tassia? Like Tassing? Mm-hmm. Folk named the town after a pagan god, a Roman one at that. I don't mind telling you the tale, Magdalene, but I warn you, it's a bit bawdy. Oh, count me curious. Well, I need something about the Romans to paint on the mural. Oh, I don't need to hear those parts. I've read plenty of Roman myths. I'm sure none of it will surprise me. Yeah, we've probably read worse. I've read plenty of Roman myths. I'm sure none of it will surprise me. Maybe not, but I won't have your father hounding me for coarseness. Folks in this town don't like me anyhow. Why? Smokey's a good dude. Smokey is a good dude. He's always been polite. I like Smokey. Maybe not, but I won't have your father hounding me for coarseness. Folk in this town don't like me anyhow. But I'll tell the decent bits of what I remember. Alright, what's the story? Everyone excludes me from the fun. No, we won't push him. Alright, what's the story? Well, legend says that Mars was hunting in these woods and spied a fat boar for the taking. He just pulled back his spear when he heard a woman scream in terror. Of course, the creature ran off, and the god was angry at the loss of his quarry. So he tramped through the woods to see why a woman was in the forest and not in the local town. Why would a god be hunting in Tassing's forest? But I go into the forest all the time. I mean, why wouldn't a god be hunting in Tassing's forest? Like, the gods go where they want to go. If they decide, I want to be in this forest, then they be in that forest. this is, you know, women belong in the town, in the homestead, with the babies and the stove. Like, out of the two, this seems obvious. Like, oh, but I go into the forest all the time. Well, yeah, you do, but like back in those days, it was expected that women would stay in the town because obviously, like, wild boars are bitches. They are terrifying creatures. Fuck that noise. Like, no, they could kill a bitch. Hell no, like, there are wild animals in the forest. Women can't defend themselves, say ye old tiny people. So you must stay in the town. Like, that's what's going on there. So I guess we have to go with this one. Why would a god be hunting in Tassing's forest? How should I know? Maybe he just wanted a brisk walk. Besides, why should anything the gods do make sense? These were the old days when spirits and ghosts prowled. What do you mean, prowled? You're just trying to scare me. Ghosts aren't real. Human spirits go to heaven or hell. They don't stay on Earth. I like the idea that she's a skeptic. Oh, ghosts aren't real. But then again, I don't... does she believe in heaven or hell? Like I said, I don't know. I don't think I think Magda is an atheist because, again, I assume that would have been incredibly rare in these days. Maybe she's agnostic. She's like, yo, I don't know if there's a god or not. I don't know. I'm not a scholar. I'm not a philosopher. That's for more learned men to decide. Like, I'm just here living my life. I'm gonna be good because that's the decent thing to do, not because, oh, I hope I get rewarded in the afterlife. I do think that she believes that ghosts aren't real, but I'm just not drawn to this one. What do you mean, prowled? Prowled? You know, like spirits and other evil things do. I can't just say they walked through the woods like you or me. They prowled. All right, keep going. So, Mars found a nymph, Tassing, bathing in a spring with a fat, ugly satyr goading her from the shore. Enraged at seeing the trapped nymph, Mars transformed into a wolf and slew the satyr. And in return, well, they boned. Tassing bathed the god. They boned. They bathed. Ah, I see. Ha, I get it. They bathed. I see. I did warn you, Magdalene. When Mars left the pool, he dripped onto the ground and it blossomed with flowers and crops. They say that's why this valley is so fertile. Huh. Mars got around, didn't he? Was there any nymph he didn't have his way with? That might be tricky to paint on the mural. I'm not sure if the council would approve. Oh my, did you make that up? How do I know that's a real legend? Why would we disbelieve him? Smokey's a good bloke. Why would he just lie to our faces? Huh. Mars got around, didn't he? Was there any nymph he didn't have his way with? He was the god of virility, wasn't he? You can see why I liked that tale in my youth. So much of what the Romans left behind was destroyed over the years, but I like that we still have these tales. I will point out, that sounds very familiar. The whole thing about, like, I'm pretty sure, again, I never went back. I never went back to look at the, oh, fuck a duck. Maritz and, Satia. Wait a minute, no. Satia, S-A-T-I-A. How are they spelling Tasia? Or Tassia? How are they spelling that? Was it with two S's? Fuck. I didn't pay attention. Put that to the side. The story about Saint Moritz and Saint Satia, there was this whole thing about, like, oh yeah, like, it was something like the snow melted and there was food. Like, it was like a harsh winter, and, like, they had nothing, and then Moritz was there, and he, like, made food spring forth or something, or Satya did. I can't remember. I remember snow and food. I remember that. I hope they show Tassia's name again. I hope they do. I can look at it in editing. I can look at it in editing, it's fine, but... Oh, there goes my timer. Sorry. We'll finish out this conversation. So much of what the Romans left behind was destroyed over the years, but I like that we still have these tales. You can never really destroy stories as long as there are people to tell them. Of course, the Romans left a hell of a lot behind too. The town is more Roman than Bavarian, really. Well, we are a part of the Holy Roman Empire. Because of how long it was a Roman colony, that's ridiculous. We're Bavarian, not Roman. Yeah, you might be now. You might be now, but that doesn't mean that the people who came before you were Bavarian. You're building on top of stuff that came before. I don't think he's talking about, like, the people. The town is more Roman than Bavarian. He's not talking about the people. I think he's talking about the land, the structures. It's all been built on Roman ruins. Because of how long it was a Roman colony. That, and how much of the town is built upon the Roman foundations. Tassing is actually much smaller now than it was in the Romans' days. At least that's what I make of it. The ruins go deep into the forest and all the way to the old mine. Half of Tassing is built on Roman stone. Take a walk around town and you'll start noticing things. We used their stone to build. The old temple by Satya's shrine has grown over, but the aqueduct runs for miles. Even the abbey used to be an old Roman fort. You can see some of the Roman pave stones under the road if you look hard. We may not be Roman, but this town is. Tassing has been building upon itself for hundreds of years. What a beautiful idea. I never realised how much we relied on the Romans for our infrastructure. Old stones aren't much of a legacy. It's all rubble now, reused and forgotten, but not gone. It's still there, it's not gone. I never realised how much we relied on the Romans for our infrastructure. Most of the people around here don't. The townsfolk are too busy to notice what's right in front of their eyes. Maybe I should go take a look at the mine. I'd get a better sense of what things were actually like. Nothing will stop you, I see. Well, I won't either. Just keep an eye for any wolves or satyrs you might see down there, eh? I'll let you know if I see any. Thanks for your help. You're still not going to I'll try that again. You're still not going to spook me, Smokey. Okay. I'll let you know if I see any. Thanks for your help. Good luck, Magdalene. Be safe. Is that gonna tell me that's... Tassing's early history. Mars. I want to see the nymph's name! I've been on an anagram kick recently. No, it's not. If they're spelling Tassia with one S, and then you have Saint Satya, they're anagrams of each other. I find that so suspicious. I find that so suspicious. I've been watching I've been watching a show called The Moonflower Murders. It's a sequel to the Magpie Murders. I haven't read the books. I've only seen the TV adaptations. They're really good. However, a major plot point of that is that anagrams are used really frequently. And so I've been looking out for anagrams, and I'm going to look at that in editing. I'm going to double check that in editing, because if they are anagrams of each other, that is suspicious. That is weird. I don't know what it means. I don't know what it means, but I would assume that would be intentional. Also, I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to talk. Well, I can't talk to you. I'm out of time for this episode. In the next one, we'll see if there's anything going on further in the woods. We'll probably check up at the Abbey and at the Golden Hand, and then we'll make our way back to the Gertner's farm, see what's going on there, and then we can speak with the twins. That is the plan going forwards. But until then, please remember to like if you enjoyed, leave a comment below, and if you wanted to subscribe, it would be very much appreciated. I've been Kallista. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next episode.